Hello everyone, and welcome to another Always Flying video. Today's video is something that I'll be calling Always Flying News, which is a periodic video that I'll have that will talk about recent aviation news. Today I'll be talking about everything that happened from January 6th to January 12th, or today, which is the day that I'm filming it. On Wednesday, or January 10th, an Aeromexico airplane landed on the wrong runway at San Francisco. The airplane was just hundreds of feet above other aircraft. What's so significant? This is another near incident at San Francisco because in July, an Air Canada pilot almost landed on the taxiway, which had 4 aircraft, 3 of which were headed across the Pacific Ocean and 1 to Orlando. So you can imagine how much fuel these aircraft had. And with that much fuel, yeah, it's a bad idea to crash an airplane into other airplane with full fuel tanks. Later in October, another Air Canada flight, yes, still Air Canada, had an airplane nearly crash into another airplane. So therefore, there are like many investigations going on in San Francisco, and that Aeromexico plane that landed on the wrong runway kind of just adds to the problem. Alright, moving on. Also in bad news, a WestJet flight WS2425 was on Toronto's tarmac when a Sunwing airplane hit the WestJet plane as the Sunwing airplane was backing up. The Sunwing's plane's tail was lit on fire. Just watch this video. The statement on Twitter from Sunwing reads, quote unquote, "We are aware of an incident that occurred shortly after 6 p.m. this evening at Toronto Pearson Airport where a Sunwing aircraft, undertowed by our ground handling service provider, came into contact with another aircraft." Sunwing added that your airplane was lit on fire. Luckily, nobody was injured, and all WestJet passengers were evacuated using emergency slides. The Sunwing plane had nobody on board, so this ended generally well. But imagine if the airplane had a lot of people inside and the airplane lit on fire. Speaking about colliding planes, a China Airlines 777 collided with a Kuwait Airlines 777 at New York's JFK. This happened last Saturday, or January 6th. As you can see, both aircraft suffered damage. The official statement translated in Google Translate from the Kuwait Airlines reads, quote unquote, "Kuwait Airways would like to mention that one of its B777 aircraft designated for Flight 118, New York to Kuwait, while standing at its premises at New York Airport was in a collision with a Chinese Airlines plane, which caused its inoperability for the flight." And then there's that random dealing with -1. This statement is basically like, hey, we aren't responsible, because it basically says, we stood right there and an airplane from China collided right into us. China Southern Airlines has not issued any statement yet. So we are going to move on to our next story, which is about Scoot. If you don't know, Scoot is Singapore Airlines' low-cost subsidiary, which means that Singapore Airlines can save money on labor because they don't really have any unions and flights are cheaper and all of that. Scoot Airlines had an incident on one of their Boeing 787s. A 787's door ripped right off at Singapore's airport on January 7th, or last Sunday. Take a look at these pictures. The door just ripped right off, and what's the story? Apparently, ground handlers wanted to move the airplane so the chokes, or the things that keep the airplane in place, were removed, and the air bridge was still connected. Unfortunately, the airplane slid without those things that secured it in place, and the door, which was inside of the air bridge place, when the airplane moved backwards, it stuck onto the air bridge, meaning that, well, it basically fell right off. It This reminds me of this. Alright, we have to get back into some serious stuff again. Jet Airways is India's second largest airline behind Indigo. On January 9th, the BBC published an article about a Jet Airways flight attendant smuggling money. As stated by the BBC, a Jet Airways female flight attendant and another man have been arrested for allegedly trying to smuggle nearly $500,000 in foreign exchange out of India, revenue officials said. The craziest thing of all, there's a video. And oh my gosh, that is crazy. Advice for everyone, don't be stupid, follow your local laws. The next story from Jet Airways dates back to January 1st, when apparently a female pilot was slapped by a male pilot on a London-bound Mumbai flight. She came out of the cockpit sobbing when the crew persuaded her to return. However, that's not where the story ends. The male pilot also came out of the cockpit. Alright. Don't understand the significance of this? Let me reword it. There were no pilots inside of the cockpit at that time. Again, there were no pilots inside of the cockpit at that time. If something went wrong, that flight would have ended very badly. This is a clear violation of safety rules. And because this happened on January 1st, great way to start your new year, our update today is that both pilots have been fired for leaving the cockpit. The Northeast was recently hit by a quote-unquote bomb cyclone. A bomb cyclone is where barometric pressure drops by at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. This usually occurs when a region of cool air, imagine cool air, reaches a region of hot air, and then they collide. And because of the Earth's spin, the air now moves around, creating like a cyclone or like a hurricane because it's moving around in a circular pattern. Well, what does this mean? It means that you have a lot of wind. And wind means flight delays and cancellations. Our story for this is of John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. Flights were waiting for hours on the ground to deplane. There were more than 1,100 flights canceled last Thursday and last Friday, or around January 4th and January 5th. And there was also another problem. The terminal's internal sprinkler system broke, flooding the customs area and other places as evidenced by this video. And now, moving on to our next story. If you are traveling to China, Marriott's Chinese website has unfortunately been taken down, according to a Reuters article published on January 11th or on Thursday. As stated by Reuters, quote-unquote, authorities in Shanghai on Thursday closed down Marriott's Chinese website for a week, punishing the world's biggest hotel chain for listing Chinese-claimed regions such as Tibet and Taiwan as separate countries in a customer questionnaire. I don't want to get political here, but China, you're affecting your own citizens more than others because now your own people can't check in at a Marriott hotel online. They can't book a hotel that they otherwise would have. They can't do many things that would benefit themselves that they otherwise could have done. I understand that Marriott, of course, will lose sales from this, which is why the government is doing this. But what China also gets is a lot of people who will think more like hey, China is the worst country ever because they can't even allow the world's biggest hotel chain to even have a website for a week. Alright, finally, we're done with our bad news, along with the new routes. Tianjin Airlines has asked China's CAAC for permission to start 6 daily flights to Los Angeles. There's 3 times weekly from Xi'an and 3 times daily from another city that I don't know how to say. Kenya Airways will start flying between Nairobi and New York JFK as of October 28th in 2018 using a Boeing 787-8. Iceland Air has been on a roll this week. They will start flying from Iceland to Baltimore on May 28th, 2018, and Iceland to Kansas City between May 25th and September 29th. Finally, they will add another flight from Iceland to San Francisco, operated by a 767-300. The first ever Airbus A321LR or long range has been revealed, and it looks beautiful. The A321LR can fly up to 4,000 nautical miles, or about 4,500 miles without stopping to refuel. Speaking of A321s, a Virgin America airplane has the paint scheme more West Coast that I came across. For me, it's a beautiful paint scheme because I love Virgin America and I love Alaska Airlines, and I like the direction that they're going in. But it's very sad that they will be no more. And on Thursday, January 11th, Virgin America pilots used the call sign Redwood for the very last time. And as far as the FAA is concerned, they're the same exact airline because Alaska Airlines and Virgin America now use the same exact operating certificate. And I want to mention about 9 Goodreads that you guys should all check out. And remember, the links are always in the description below. The first is called Marriott Family Civil War from the Washingtonian, which talks about Marriott families' problems and a lawsuit from inside their own family. The next 2 are from my favorite travel blog website, 1 Mile at a Time. The first article is titled, "The 5 Credit Card Benefits That I Consider Almost Too Good to Be True," which details 5 great credit card benefits. The next article from 1 Mile at a Time is titled, "How to Redeem the IHG Card Free Night Certificate," which talks about how to redeem the IHG Free Night Certificate, which comes with your IHG credit card. The next one is about how Malaysia could pay a US firm up to $70 million if they find MH370, or the airplane that won't disappear. There is one article titled, "Why One Dude Has Spent Years Building a Boeing 777 Out of Paper." From Bloomberg, there is one interesting article called, "The Most Awful Transit Center in America Could Get Unimaginably Worse." And finally, there is one interesting article from The Points Guy titled, "American Airlines Secret Passenger Scoring System Revealed." And thank you guys for all watching. I hope you can like, comment, and subscribe for more. And stay tuned for more Always Flying videos because I'll have a lot more coming to you.